ain't fading away. Video heroes were on the line. Saw Planet X in record time. Games are winning, worlds to save. Fighting hard, we're bold and brave. Children could see through the wall box, they've got in every fall. Used to balance hard to see. Find the stones that trouble me. Take leaks with and what that bird shows serving salt. Bentley, that business street. Up the goodness of baby. 8-bit 16, drinking spicy, on so break the speed. Madman, hit the charts, murder business, that's the rest. They sell defenders, we're on our quest. Say planet Earth, we did our best. Commander Dan, Camera Junior Plan. Margot is plotting a retro game land. Racing through levels, saving the day. Planet Earth's future ain't fading away. Video heroes were on.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Retrostation 1989. I'm Commander Dan, and welcome to the spookiest season of them all, Halloween. That's right. Finally. I love this time of the year. Man, it is so darn good to get to the fall, which is my favorite time of year because Halloween is approaching. Madness, monsters, and oh! Great effect, Margot. Cambot Jr., did we get our comms pod out to our special guest for the month?
You know it, boss. And I don't know if it's exactly the best plan in the world to get involved with that kind of...
Let's not ruin the surprise, little buddy. First, I'm using the ship's replicators to make some upgrades around here, and firstly, you may not have known this, but up here aboard the old retro station, I've had some difficulty getting food other than the basic food paste created by our automated systems, which is constituted of primarily made of turnips. Take a look.
Welcome to Five Guys, an Alien, and Two Androids. My name is Bloth. How can I meet your needs today?
Hey, I'm Commander Dan aboard the retro station. I'm a dude from Earth, and I.
Huh. Yes, you're a dude from Planet Dude, whatever. What kind of a food do you want?
What's the best thing on the menu in your opinion?
Really? You're gonna be that guy? Okay, fine. I like the number 8. It tastes like my favorite thing.
What's that?
Well, Commander Dude from Planet Dude, I'm a dog man. What do you imagine my favorite thing to taste is?
I don't think I want to.
But I bet you can guess. Anyways, Earth Dude from Planet Dude, how about the thing I see most of the simian life forms who come through here order?
What's that?
Well, that's burnt hominid flesh ground up and slapped on a grain-based breading and sprayed with the plant-based material that has been fermented. And fermented vine fruit sliced and pickled in brine and some other fluid. Oh, and fried tubers.
Simian flesh? You mean like monkey meat?
Earth Dude, there are like 1 billion carnivores out there, and most of them cannibalize each other. What are you, a vegan?
Like a vegetarian?
No, from the vegan constellation. They're all asswipe carnivores like you.
Hey, pal, I'm the customer, and the customer's always right. I want you to get me your manager right now.
No.
But our new improved retro station can make me a simulation of any Earth food. Out of turnips. But check this out. I had Margot make me some of these. Oh, that's right, baby. Count Chocula, straight from, well, the replicators, but they don't taste like turnips. They actually taste like Count Chocula. It's pretty great. So that gave me an idea. You know, I wanted to, not just have Count Chocula on my plate. I wanted to do something about this. My old commander's jacket. Now, it's not a bad jacket. I happen to love it. But I gotta say, if we can get this thing, taken care of, let's go ahead and, I'll punch this in here. There we go. Yeah, okay. All right, Margot. Let her rip. All right, pretty sweet. Wait a minute. Margot, I said like a sci-fi Dracula. Scott Bakula. Well, I mean, anyway, it's not bad. I like it. I dig it. I can dig it. And anyway, who doesn't like Star Trek, am I right? Anyway, this week is our first of 3 spooky season episodes based around one of the most notorious, most devious and monstrous ghoulish beasts of all time and of all horror history, the one and only... Whew, you almost got me to reveal the surprise. No, we're going to be talking about someone else this time. But, you naughty ghouly space pirates, our story begins in Scotland, way back in the year 1897. Normally, there would be a video here of I Love the 90s, but I don't know who the hell would be throwing up an I Love the 90s about 1897, except maybe somebody at a Confederacy for America rally these days. So get ready for some stills as I talk about this. I am sorry. The world had been rocked by an epistolary novel at that time. It's a kind of book made up of letters and other journals that go together to tell a longer story, whose horror and adult elements shocked the world at large. The story was Dracula, the tale of Jonathan Harker, who travels to Transylvania and barely escapes from Count Dracula, who turns out to be the undead. More specifically, a vampire. Jonathan Harker makes it back to England on the Demeter, and along with Dr. Abraham Van Helsing and a small group of adventurers, they investigate, hunt, and destroy the monster Dracula. The story has been translated into 30 different languages, and has been adapted into film over 30 times. Not to mention, the character of Dracula being so popular, the tropes from the book have been adapted to not just video games, but toys, games, video games, breakfast cereal, cartoons. Folks, Dracula is famous on a whole other level to most franchises out there. I mean, he's even a popsicle. Look at this thing. It looks like something that Satan would have invented. Or the Australians. Possibly both. I'm kidding, of course, I'm kidding. Satan wouldn't devise something so devilish. Love you, Australia. And I believe that's actually from the UK. But like I said, Dracula is famous in a way people probably don't even understand. And today, we're going to be looking at a character from the novel who plays a minor role there, but was expanded for the Universal Pictures version, played by Dwight Fry in the epic, historic, and legendary Dracula in 1931. The character is John Montague Renfield. In the novel, Renfield is a madman in the asylum where Dr. John Seward works, whose propensity and compulsion to eat small insects and desire to eat bigger things, including cats and humans if possible, including Seward. His character is a very minor one in the book, used because he's crazy to help Dracula enter the asylum and access to Mina Harker. The film changed the character, and Space Pirates, in my humble opinion, the 31 film expanded the character in a way that I love. Renfield is the first solicitor to visit Dracula to get his properties purchased in England, and doing so is driven mad, becoming Dracula's slave, mind, body, and soul in England. Let's take a look at a bit of the performance of Dwight Fry. This is his speech about getting a kitten. Man, it's so mesmerizing and haunting. But judge for yourself. We'll take a quick look.
I thought he seemed to be saying, rats, 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 thousands, millions of them, all red blood. All these will I give you, if you will obey me.
Seriously intense, yeah? Space Pirates, Commander Dan is from the X generation, and that don't mean I got a cool mutant power, which I do actually, and only certain among my friends and family know what that is. What it really means is, I'm an old. It's true. So let me give you great Space Pirate youngsters some context here. Before streaming and cable, your choices for television were really limited. There were the 3 big networks and then a couple local stations that played syndicated content, reruns and things like that. Like old reruns of MASH, and like now where you can watch Friends every hour of every day on every station around the country on cable television, that kind of thing, but only a couple different channels. Now on those stations, sometimes they packaged old movies by surrounding the ad breaks with original programming or hosts, kind of like what I do here on the Retro Station. Back then we had something called horror hosts, local celebrities playing a character to introduce and sometimes mock the film being presented. I saw the 1931 Dracula when I was 10 years old on TV, shared on Tampa's TV 44 on the weekend horror show Creature Feature, hosted by Dr. Paul Bearer. That's how he sounded, all the time. No, not that Paul Bearer Cambot Jr. Geez. Yeah, that one. See, kiddies, back in the old days, we'd have horror hosts that would give you a breakdown of the film as it was being shown. Guys like Joe Bob Briggs, Paul Bearer, Sven Gulli, just some of the names around the United States. Let me know if you're of a certain age like myself, who your local horror host was near you in the comments below. I think we'll do a video celebrating all of them sometime soon. But the thing about that movie that always stuck with me was Renfield. The guy that went mad getting that close to a monster and surviving. Made an impression on me when I was 10, and he's always been a favorite horror character of mine. And that brings us to the movie today's license is based on. Renfield is a 2023 movie starring Nicholas Hoult and my man Nick Cage. And our evaluation is based on the game. It's a Steam game, so I had the Scudders and the Replicators come up and fabricate me a fake box for it. But anyway, I think it looks pretty good. Now, what we're going to do is...
Hey, Commander Dan. I was wondering what a vampire was. I found a comic book you drew a long time ago, and it talks about monsters and vampires and Frankensteins and all those other kinds of monsters.
Well, since I write the scripts and it's clear I'm humble bragging through you, my little buddy, but clearly, yeah, I drew a comic book called Eddie Van Helsing, Vampire Killer. I realize you just learned how to read and stuff, so sure, buddy, I'll break down what a vampire is for you. And we'll talk about the movie, too, because it came out last year, but holds to the 31 Dracula film, in a way I gotta say is pretty great. Let's take a look, Space Pirates.
No.
Okay, so maybe sometimes cinematic universes don't pull together like the Marvel and Star Wars versions, which to me is a real bummer. I love the Universal monsters. Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein and his monster, Invisible Man and the creature from the Black Lagoon. These monsters were my obsession as a kid. When that movie came out, Monster Squad, I almost lost my mind. I was one of those kids. I would have been part of the squad. No kidding. I've mentioned it before. I've collected the action figures as a kid and was only missing the Phantom from my childhood Remco figures collection. Unfortunately, they were lost during one of the many moves my family made across the United States, but they were all swept away along with the mini monster play case, which was sadly cardboard and plastic and falling apart before we even got back from Germany. But that's way back in the past, and this debacle is more recent. In 2017, Universal wanted to create a dark universe, linking all the classic Universal monsters in a modern context. Now, they started for some reason with The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise. Let's take a look.
No.
Yeah, not very dignified. Turns out, it was about a treasure thief versus a mummy, but was most well known for this nonsensical jackassery in a sneak trailer where they forgot to add sound effects and music and make it not look like Tom is having some kind of freak out. Well, anyway, I never saw the movie because I don't really dig the Mummy, to be honest, as a villain. But it's all right. It's all right. The Dark Universe rolled on with the classic movie monster, the Invisible Man. Wait, what? I mean, he is, generally speaking, one of the Universal monster movies, but okay, this is going to be one where I get a bunch of thumbsies, downsies again. And if you decide not to like the video because of this, please shout at me why I'm wrong, and dense, or just a hat sewn together of several hairy asses. It's the only way I'll learn, honestly, but here it goes. The Invisible Man is a great flick about an abusive relationship. That being said, it did not, I repeat, it did not need to do the modern thing of making a character who's one thing into something completely different under the guise of updating the character or the situation. The original Invisible Man was about a mad scientist who creates a formula to become invisible, and then his pranks and his sanity go away because of both the thing that makes him invisible is a drug that kind of turns him loopy, and also having the ultimate power to just not be seen and do whatever he wants makes him into kind of a villain. But in this movie, by the end of the movie, the Invisible Man, who's been a villain up until this point in the same kind of weird way Claude Rains was, but real more sinister and just awful. Like toxic masculinity times a million, right? And then ends up getting killed by a woman who dons his invisible power suit, so now the invisible man is now the invisible empowered lady. You know, it's a great flick, honestly, and as a horror movie, it's scary as hell, and the situation is just dire, and reflects real situations women go through all the time, so it's kind of sad too. But it's a great flick, but it's not the frigging Invisible Man. Alright? And how the hell will that get crossed over with this? Right? Like, what's she gonna say to Tom Cruise? Like, what are those two characters gonna do with each other in that dark universe? So it's clear the dark universe was cobbled together from a bunch of rehashed and reheated garbage from the slush pile of Universal screenplays to a stitched together, kit-bashed universe of shared, quote-unquote, monsters. Next up, well, there were two that had been finished, both related to the ultimate universal monster, Dracula. First out was the basis for the game we're looking at, Renfield, and the other was A Last Voyage of the Demeter, a movie about a single chapter of the Dracula book, The Captain's Log. And let me ask you this, because Universal, it seems, never got asked this question. What kind of shared universe has different actors playing the premier character of that universe? It is clear that Dracula is the premier character of the Universal Monster universe. When you see them all standing together, Dracula's dead center. Dracula, in this case, was played by Javier Botet in the Demeter flick, which is very serious and is actually a great Dracula flick. A internet buddy of mine, Dave Desmalchian, is in that movie, and he is fan-damn-tastic. In Renfield, Dracula's played by Nicolas Cage as the modern incarnation of the 1931 movie. And it's great. They Forrest Gump Cage into scenes from the original Dracula movie, and that movie ends up being funny, scary, and all around a great flick about toxic relationships and codependence wrapped up in the metaphor of vampire and thrall. Let's take a peek at the film as much as we can without getting fully shadow realmed by YouTube. And let me say, I really like the movie. I do. It's one of my favorites, actually, in the vampire genre or in the horror genre itself. Especially the moment when Teddy Lobo is preening over his newfound vampiric powers. Let's take a look.
You should have taken my offer when you had the chance. Now the only choice you're gonna get is which one of your limbs I'm gonna tear off first. Go! Oh, this must drive you crazy. Him choosing me over you?
In the moment following this, Teddy's lording it over Renfield, mocking him for being a weak footstool for what amounts to the devil, and without thinking, confers upon Dracula the role of master. He says, well, when me and the master, and then he catches himself. In that moment, Teddy realizes what he signed away for power, and though he plays it off, it's really a great role, and I can't imagine another comedic actor doing it as well as the fellow playing Teddy Lobo did in this flick. It's so good. And you can see that he knows he's completely doomed in that moment. And so his defeat is all but assured because Renfield at this point is now the resurrected hero, essentially. The movie begins by establishing that the relationship between Dracula and Renfield, that Renfield is ordered to find sustenance for Dracula. That's his job. And since a run-in with an ancient order of religious vampire hunters, Dracula's been super messed up. And, frankly, Renfield's been slow-walking his recovery by bringing him less than pure subjects to feed on. Apparently there are levels to this, and a crackhead spree killer is way lower on the quality totem pole than, say, a busload of cheerleaders or a pack of nuns, say. It turns out that Renfield, while chasing down another victim for Dracula, a mean motor scooter who's angry and evil, finds himself at a codependency group therapy meeting and has begun trying to wrest himself from the toxic relationship he has with Dracula, sitting alongside these folks and sharing. The movie shows the growth of Renfield as a character, and when he allies with a vengeful cop, alone in a corrupt precinct to get revenge, the story takes off from there and is just so satisfying, with a great ending as well. This is Renfield, Bring Your Own Blood. And while it doesn't have a physical release, it is available on Steam and Good Old Games, GOG.com, for PC right now. And folks, It's a licensed title I only very recently learned of, much less played, but the short amount of time I spent with it has been very worth it. So let's evaluate it and find out if it has a license to play. Renfield, Bring Your Own Blood is a glossy, glistening, and tightly art-directed package that reflects the aesthetic of the movie quite well. Much like the blockbuster hit indie game Vampire Survivors, it's an auto-striker that has you, in the beginning, playing as Renfield and taking on different levels, making your way through several screens apiece. You get a chance to either give each level's victim to Dracula or rescue them from the beast, and along the way get a ton of powers, skills, and animal and creature companions to assist you on your mission to break free from your dark master. And until Kendrick Lamar came out that recent song, They Not Like Us, I kind of liked the owl, but now I don't think I like the owl so much. If you know, you know. You can put the hashtag on that if you like, but if you know, you know. You can play as Robert Montague Renfield, but you can also unlock Count Dracula, Rebecca Quincy, which I believe is a reference to Quincy Morris, the Texan from Dracula, but she is the protagonist, played by Awkwafina in the movie. A monster called Bathead, the cheerleader, Gore Golem, Mark, Mina Harker, the Red Death, Remy Broussard, Richard the Werelobo, Sister Charlotte, Teddy Lobo, and the Maestro. I think the Maestro might be a reference to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but at any rate, there are different levels available in the game as well. The St. Louis Graveyard from New Orleans, Dracula's Lair, which is in a hospital, the Parade Float Graveyard, and more. And each of these levels offers power-ups and multiple levels of baddies to slash, slay, fire off bats, and utilize your animal buddies to conquer, leading to boss fights on each level. Until finally, a showdown with Dracula himself. And it's about as fun as it gets with one of these types of games. I mean, Vampire Survivors is one of my favorites. I'll show you some footage here of that game, and if you've played it, you know, but there's not a lot of interaction there, but figuring out the ways to pass each level is part of the fun. Now, this game is about 3 or 4 hours to complete as Renfield and offers up a ton of replayability because of all the different characters and the different powers you can maximize. And there are minor changes to the game determined whether or not you sacrifice the victims on each level to Dracula or rescue them, a deeply personal ethical question to be sure. But it is far less an important and ethical question than the ultimate question, which we all know is... So, does Renfield Bring Your Own Blood, available now via Steam or GOG, have a license to play? Yeah, of course. It's $5 worth spending. Now, as I'm sure it's clear by now, we're spending this Halloween looking into Dracula as a license, and next week we're taking another left turn with a retro game that I don't think anyone will guess. Folks, hang on tight. And give us a like and subscribe if you like. Please hit the bell if you want to know when the next episode's coming out. In the meantime, we're doing a countdown for Halloween every single day until the Halloween celebration. And in the meantime, no matter what I've said during this broadcast, in the past or in the future, remember to always, always, always stay retro. Peace.
Get upset on the internet, you're a salt adult, you're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet, you're a salt adult. Throwing out a hissy fit, your views ain't in the millions, and every up and comer is a threat to what you're dealing. And instead of getting better, you just spout upon your Facebook, crying on your Twitter bit about how bad your case look in case you didn't.